Happy first episode of the Find Your Place podcast, where we talk all things real estate, self-development, and entrepreneurship. We are your hosts. My name is Jessica.
And my name is Bianca. And we are going to be helping you find your place in the world. And other places as well, as in physical real estate.
Awesome. So, believe it or not, we thought we would share this with you guys. So, Bianca and I met, when did we meet?
I can't even say. It was actually,
I think
not
December.
very long ago. Yeah, December.
I think it was December.
Yeah.
So we thought we would take this first episode to introduce ourselves to our listeners. But as you get to know us through this episode, we're actually going to be getting to know ourselves as well.
And each other.
So we are going to be asking a series of questions just to better understand kind of where we are at in our lives right now. And as we move forward through the podcast, we will be having some guests on the show. And feel free to share if there's anyone that you're interested in having us interview, then we will be more than happy to have them here with us.
Yes.
Cool.
I love it. Are we going to start? So why don't we tell them how we met?
Love at first conversation.
Yes, that one.
Okay, tell us more.
Well, we met through my friend Jenny. We were at her house and I was sitting on the couch, and she does these amazing friendship get-togethers where she is just like a bringer of people together. She brings everyone together. And yeah, did you come up to me or did I come up to you?
I walked in, you were sitting on the couch, and I just like right away just instantly walked towards you.
And then we started talking about esoteric stuff. We started talking about spirituality, and we started talking about ancestry. Are those topics that people usually have as like a first topic of conversation?
Don't think so. That's why I was drawn to you, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is like below the surface.
Yeah. I forget what else was there.
Nothing. It was just an instant connection. And for me, energy is really important, which is why I was like, wow, this girl is sick. And then I think it was a month or two later, we started talking about podcasts. And I said to Bianca, and I was like, Bianca, why don't we do a podcast? And you're like, yeah, I'm down. So I think it was the inspired action it was instant. It was quick. We jumped on it. So this is our first ever podcast that we're ever running. I don't know if you could tell, we're really nervous, but you got to start somewhere.
Let it go with the flow. The beautiful thing about people coming together like that in such a synchronistic kind of way is that a lot of the most amazing entrepreneurs, a lot of the most amazing connections and businesses that were created with two people or more. There's actually a podcast, I actually forget the name of it. And
okay, tell me more.
It talks about the connections between two people and how they were able, through their like strengths and weaknesses, and how they balance each other to create like incredible art or business. Like oh my god, it's like escaping me now.
That's okay.
I gotta find it. But there is this concept that when two people meet, one person can't do things alone. And so when two people meet and it's in a synchronistic kind of way, they can create magic. So that's what I want to do here. I want to create magic.
And here we are.
Ooh, I love it.
Okay, so I have a few questions I wanted to pose to you.
Okay.
I don't know these answers, so we're just going to figure it out as we go along.
Okay, be prepared. I'm going to throw them back at you.
Okay, so Bianca, tell me, I met you in your 20s, but what were you like as a child?
Ooh. Oh boy. I feel like most people would say I was like super rebellious. I was really rebellious. I feel really bad for my mom. I feel so bad for my mom. Everything I do now is for her because of what hell I put her through. She had me and she was like, no, I'm good. I don't need more.
I was about to ask, do you have any siblings?
No, none of that. She's like, I'm good. I'm fine. I was like, I ran away from home like 50 times when I was like 7.
Why?
All the time. I just wanted to, so I wasn't allowed to cross the street, but I would literally walk around the neighborhood in circles. And because I just wanted to be away from home. I wanted to like.
Where's home? Hold on. We're in Toronto right now, but where's home?
That was in Romania.
Okay.
That was in mother country.
Mother country. If you didn't know, Bianca has a number of talents and skills. You'll learn as we go through the podcast.
A poor Eastern European accent is one of them. Yeah. Can't do much with it, but gets a laugh. I like it.
Okay, so you weren't allowed to leave the house, but you decided to leave anyway. You would just rebel.
My grandfather, he used to make leather for horses, like the actual saddles and all this other stuff. And I would get a beating every single time I came home. Like, and I never learned. I was like, well, this is the consequence of freedom.
Oh boy.
And that's actually, wow, that's a wonderful discovery. I love that you just
Here today.
I love that just happened. Yeah, so that's the basis of, oh my gosh, my entire personality is the pursuit of freedom.
Pursuit of freedom. Wow. That's
Thanks,
huge.
Jess.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Okay, so you're in Toronto. When did you move here?
Oh boy, 98. I was 7 years old. And I remember the day I came to Canada. I was with my grandmother, and she, oh my gosh, she spoke no English. I was learning English in Canada, in Romania. So I was prepared. I remember getting off the plane and seeing my mom like across from me, and we started running towards each other.
It's like in the movies.
Literally, and as she almost like a comedy at this point once it happens. So like she picks me up and she smashes my face into hers, and I get a nosebleed, and she's crying and laughing, and I'm bleeding. And I miss you so much. So yeah, that was the first day. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Welcome to Toronto. Yeah. Oh my god, that's so funny.
So wait, what about you? Where do you reside? Where do you live? And where is your family from?
So I live in Vaughan, born at Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto. Grew up, I think, until I was 6 years old, we lived at Bathurst and Steeles. So my family is from former USSR. I had to code Italy first before coming here, but that was the spot where all the Russian families would go to. And I mean, we didn't grow up in an affluent neighborhood at all. But as soon as my parents were able to get themselves on their feet here, we moved a little more north. So Thornhill. Thornhill is in Vaughan. Vaughan's massive. And yeah, my brother and I were born and raised here. So I don't have a crazy story like yours. Yeah, coming here. But I do see how having a story like that builds a lot of character. And character, I think, is what pushes us to get to certain places and to do certain things. So
speaking of character, I know we were talking about this, but when I met your mom and your dad, wow. Oh my God, her parents are incredible people. Holy cow. Like, no wonder she turned out this way. This is like her mom. Both parents are so strong, but your mom, she's so stylish. She's so she literally has an air of independence and strength when she walks around. She's incredible. I'm sure that her experiences, even though you might not have been born in that country, that everything that she went through was more than passed down in terms of.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure, without a doubt. And my grandma and I, a few months ago, we were sitting in the backyard, and this wasn't really spoken about in my family much. Struggle was not it was masked. Yeah. You know, it's like, you're just as great as everyone type of thing, right? And so a few months ago, my grandmother and I were sitting in the backyard, and she goes, Jess, we were really poor. Really, really, really poor. And she had told me the story of how when they had to leave from the former USSR, so my family, my mom's side of the family, they were living in Azerbaijan, and they had to come to Italy before coming to Canada. And she said to us, she said, Jess, we were so poor. We did whatever jobs were presented to us, and we were essentially cleaning spaces, restaurants, offices. That's the only way that we could, make some sort of living before coming here. And I think as kids growing up, because we are the first generation, well, I mean, myself and my brother were the first gen Canadians, we didn't see that struggle because our parents just made sure that we were given everything to the best of their ability. In every single after school program, every weekend we had something going on, right? So now as I look back and I have those conversations with my family members, I'm like, holy crap, you guys have gone through a lot. And I think this is the issue that our generation faces, to be honest with you, is because we were raised in a space where we're given a lot of comfort, a lot of resources. It's very difficult to have motivation and desire to move further in life. Right? So I don't know if you've noticed that. I've definitely noticed that with a lot of people in my circle.
Yeah.
You're comfortable. Why move out of your parents' place? You know, there's no need to do so. You're comfortable. Everything is taken care of.
But you know, at the exact same time of that exact same messaging, we have this opposite messaging that is constantly talking about how much you're supposed to get and have, and how, you know, there's like 14-year-olds making like $7 million on YouTube. And like, so it's like, it's very interesting that there's such mixed and such, like, all these views are in such opposition to each other, right? And it actually breeds the same result, which is oftentimes what you're talking about. It's kind of like a paralysis.
Yeah.
It's like a paralysis of like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And this is actually part of the reason why we started this podcast. It's about finding your place in the world somehow, and being able to like navigate all these different messages that we're constantly inundated with that say go out and get everything and become so successful, and then the other messages are like don't care about anything, like Buddhist mentality, meditate all day.
Yeah.
Which one is it, man? Like,
yeah, it's hard to figure it out, you know. And oftentimes when I'm speaking to students in high school, they're confused. They have no idea what they should be doing, like you said, because of all these messages that we're getting.
You know,
right?
I think that we failed to mention something on this podcast.
Tell me.
That we're realtors.
Oh boy. No, that was gonna come at some point. But yeah, the reason why we came up with the name Find Your Place is obviously Bianca and I are realtors, and we find a lot of happiness in helping people find a home for them to either live in or investment properties. And also we are on our own journey, and I'm sure a lot of other people in our circle are on their journey of trying to find their place in the world. So this is why we decided to come up with this name.
I love it. I love this name. We went back and forth for a while. Yeah.
What was it at first?
One was Please Advise. I like that one too.
Please Advise.
Yeah. And you can steal that one if you're thinking of making a podcast. Yeah, I like that one.
Bianca has given you the permission. Okay, so I remember we briefly chatted last month. You were telling me how you purchased your first property in Toronto.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, I did. So coming from that Eastern European family and that sort of mentality of I heard my mom growing up, I heard this phrase 100 times. I heard, if you do not have property in this country, you have nothing. Over and over and over again. And I swear, until like I eventually caved. I was 22. I had finally saved up enough money from working like 3 jobs: pizza. I was a cashier at Pizza. I was a hostess at Swiss Chalet, and I worked in a mechanic shop as well as like administrative work.
I'm telling you guys, she can do everything.
Oh boy. And yeah, so saved up all this money and then moved in with mom because I couldn't actually live in my own place. And this is the thing that I think is interesting about this specific topic is when you buy your first property, let's say you can't live in it and you need to have somebody come in and rent it out so that you can build your equity, so that you can, you know, have
move
your
forward.
first property.
Yeah.
I hired a realtor and I had her find me someone, and it's honestly not necessarily the realtor's fault, because people do submit certain things that look very good, and I picked the wrong person, and that person squatted in my place for like 7-8 months. It was my first experience. I almost lost my condo, almost lost my investment. It was a very difficult experience, but it made me learn a lot about tenants. It made me learn a lot about real estate. It made me learn a lot about, holy crap, being on the verge of losing the only thing that I've saved up for my entire life.
Right.
So that was, that's the story. Eventually we got her out, and I moved in and I ended up selling that place. But wow, I feel for anybody who's also a tenant, of course, because wow, these house prices.
Yeah.
But these landlords, sometimes you don't know it seems as if they're doing so well, but you don't know their actual situation.
Yeah, that's true. I think because from the outside, you know, landlords, oh, they're making so much money and it's so wheezy. And then, you know, here you are with your situation. You weren't in the easiest situation. You're 22 years old dealing with these things. Probably had no idea what you were doing.
Nope, no clue. I don't even know how I managed to do all of that. I cannot believe I bought a condo in North York for $280,000.
When was this?
22, so I'm 30 now. So yeah.
Wow. 8 years ago.
8 years ago, it's $280,000.
Okay, so you sold that condo. Where did you go after that?
I moved to Niagara Falls.
Okay, so she's in Niagara now.
I am in Niagara now. My team, my real estate team is in Brantford. Go Kate Broddick. And shameless plug. I do a lot of work in Toronto. So I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but I do feel like I'm sort of in the air and kind of like in between places. I don't feel as rooted as I'd like to feel. But that's coming. I'm sure it is.
And that's part of your journey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I run an Airbnb in Niagara Falls.
Okay, tell us more. Airbnb where? And
oh my gosh, in like 5 minutes away from the falls. I learned about Airbnb a while back from a friend, and I saw the type of money that she was making, and I honestly couldn't believe it until I did it myself. It is extraordinary, and it is sort of why there's a bit of a housing affordability issue as well, because, or not so much housing affordability, but supply.
Right.
Because people would, if they knew what they were making with Airbnb, they would probably choose an Airbnb over tenants. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Which is why we have all these new bylaws, these new rules, all these things trying to stop the Airbnbs from happening. And there's obviously some safety issues. There's some things that have to do with, like, if you're in a condo building in Toronto and every unit's being rented out as an Airbnb, it does reduce the quality of the building.
We all know which condos those are in Toronto.
Yeah, we do. We know you know too. We know you know too. I do that when I take tenants there, like, or you know, like clients. I'm like, this is an Airbnb building. You got to be aware of that. Like,
you know what? I spoke to someone last week who had lived there before, and he said that he enjoyed his time. He's like, it was great. Obviously, elevators was an issue. You're standing, and there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of commotion. But I guess
it depends on what you like. You know, like if you like the a lot of different faces and like meeting new people and potentially, you know, parties.
Yeah,
if you like to have a good time, go to an Airbnb building, you know.
Yeah. I think it just depends on the individual and what stage you're at in your life and what you're looking for. But okay, so you now have an Airbnb.
Yeah.
What do you notice is similar to when you were a landlord? Like, do you find this is easier to manage? Why do you prefer this? Obviously, we spoke about, you know, the money that you're making.
For me personally, it's not even the money. It's awesome. The money's great. But the thing is, I was so traumatized with that experience when I was younger with that tenant. It really left like an actual lasting mark. Even though I know logically and rationally that they're great tenants, I literally help them every day get places.
Right.
I just, that was what had me go that route, because I knew that person was going to come, stay for a few days and then leave, and then I didn't have to worry about them squatting or holding on to my place or damaging my place, although people could still damage your place. Just,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, there's still, I remember one of my first times I had the Airbnb, I got scared that it wasn't booking as fast, so I lowered my prices really low, and I had this couple come in, and I have no idea what happened, but I got down there and there was, they cooked fish, but they forget that fish is great. I'm a vegan, so it's not that great for me, but anyways, so they cooked fish, and they had I don't know what they were doing. Maybe it was a fetish or something. Like, there was oil on literally everything. Like, I don't know how they got oil on some of the crevices in my place that they did.
Okay, hold on. Everything, you mean
like
by what?
It's like they washed their hands in oil and just touched everything.
Oh boy.
And they actually killed, there was flies. And they took there was boot marks on my walls from them taking their boots and like killing flies with their boots. Like, that was, I got down there and I had somebody coming right after, and I had to cancel that booking because I was like, there's no way I can clean this in time. So this is the kind of stuff that sucks about Airbnb. Yeah. It's like, you message them, you're like, dude, what were you, this is someone's house. Like, how did you think to take a boot and to like kill bugs on a wall? Like, why is there oil like everywhere, like on every crevice, on every door handle. How did your hands even get that high up on a wall with the oil? Like, what were you guys doing? So yeah, that kind of stuff that's the problem there.
So you're managing your Airbnb then?
Yeah, I am. Okay. And for the most part, when I'm not working, I do have a cleaner, but I clean it myself. Yeah, as well. Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think it is one of the fastest ways to financial freedom there is.
Okay, so then that means you're probably going to move forward to...
I'm going to keep going, yeah. I mean, you get problems regardless, right?
Oh, yeah. Whether you're a landlord or
an
owner of an Airbnb.
Yeah, so...
Good for you, though.
There was a lot of complaints about that one. I really didn't like that.
This is all thanks to your mom with her saying...
You must buy property.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. She's so happy. She's so proud of me. She's just like, my mom's the best mom in the world.
Of course.
I know, your mom's the best mom in the world too, I promise. But
everyone's mom's the best mom in the world.
Yeah, but my mom's really great. Like, really great. I love her so much. She's my best friend.
Something about the Eastern European moms, like they just have this... They get you straight, you know, and they may not be able to speak English properly.
Oh, but they sure know how to give you. They know how to sure give you a look from across the room. You know exactly what they're saying. You're like,
maybe this is why we clicked right away. Okay, so tell me, if you could turn back in time and tell your 18-year-old self something, what would that be? And that can mean anything, like in personal life, work life.
If I could tell my 18-year-old self anything, it's a great question. I'm stalling now because I can't think of any.
Okay, we can come back.
No, wait. I got it. I'm sure I do. I think it has to do with.
Cue the music. What's that song?
Oh my God, that's gonna be great. I think it's just about courageousness. I think that there's a lot of times that I was really scared to move forward with things because it's just a scary world out there when you're starting out. And so I think it's just being brave when it comes to meeting new people, when it comes to going after what you want, and that it doesn't matter what people think of you. It's so cliche. Like, that is the most cliche thing I'm sure I could have said, but it's true. If I can give any 18-year-old any advice, it's I guarantee you everything you're doing right now is because of self-image, and if you assess that, you'll stop doing half those things, maybe more, and can just soar. Yeah.
It's interesting because I think I told you every Saturday I do a program called Thinking to Results. It's led by Bob Proctor. And that's one of the lessons, self-image. And I personally think, like, even when I talk to my coach, like, at the root, that is, I think, the largest thing that drives us or does the opposite, right? So I think you really hit the nail on the head.
So, Jess, what about your 18-year-old self? What would you tell her?
What would I tell my 18-year-old self? I used to party a lot when I was 18. I'm thinking what I used to do. I would probably tell her, you know what? I was such a great student. Such a great student. Like, I loved school. I was always chasing like A pluses. I don't know why. Like, I hate that. I'm proud of myself, but can you imagine you're just like going throughout life from like the first grade to whatever university and like, I need 90s, I need A pluses. I would probably tell her to start exploring outside of school a lot faster, and to start surrounding myself with people that are like 100 steps ahead of me. You know, so I was always around my own little space, my own circle, my comfort. And I just wish, I network a lot. Naturally, I love to network with people, but I just wish I had done that sooner. I think I would have taken different steps. I've been working since I was 13. I never asked my parents for money, but all my money was being spent towards dance. Dance was my life. That other than school, it was dance. So $300 here for a pair of shoes, $300 for a costume, flying out to here, flying out to there. And I just wish I was more like my brother, you know?
How was he?
He's so great with it. He was so great with his finances. He was always grounded. Like, just always, his hobby became his career.
I'm equally so jealous of I don't want to say jealous, and not even envious. I really wish I was more grounded. That is literally, when I hear that, when I see that in people, it's such a beautiful quality. And I know that some people feel almost like a little bit mundane and bored, or as if they're boring. But wow, what a great quality if you have the ability to be grounded and to actually do the stable things that are necessary to get ahead. Oof, kudos to you.
I think it really depends on the individual. When COVID hit, my brother's life didn't change, and I went up to him and I said, John, how do you feel? He's like, nothing has changed. I've been working from home for X amount of years and I'm still working from home, you know. So him and I are both very, very different, and I really admire that when someone is grounded. So I would tell my younger self, start exploring outside of what you know and what's already in front of you, you know. And so I had told some people that were younger, I said, take some time to research and do things that you love. Like, why would I research things in my spare time? And I'm like, well, no one's telling you to research things you don't like. Like, start exploring and understanding yourself. That's a big part of your journey, right? And so I was sitting at a coffee shop a few weeks ago, and I said to myself, I don't know if I could see myself coming back here for the next 25 years of my life. Like, that's so to me, it's boring, you know. It's just, I'm going to be in the same space, same people, which is why I always encourage people, get out of your comfort, go speak to random people. The fact that we're sitting here and doing this, we don't even know each other that well, but I find so much beauty in this, right? So that's what I would tell my younger self.
I want to go back to your love of dance, because I hear this a lot when it comes to realtors. All of us have some sort of creative expression that is so magical, and I wonder what it is that attracts us to this job. Is it the people? Is it our ability to come up with creative solutions? There is something very specific about artists turned realtors, and using those skills properly so that they become successful in the industry. What do you think that is?
I think this career requires a lot of skill. It's not just selling, and there's an art to selling, right? So I think as a realtor, you wear a lot of hats, you know, and
psychiatrist being one of them.
The beauty is that you can do it in whichever way suits your style, right? And I think that's where we are able to actually use our creativity. Yesterday, you went to the Buzz conference, right?
I did.
And I watched a few of your videos that you posted, and a few people were speaking, and they were saying, like, I'm just myself. And that's what brings people to my sphere and my circle, right? So I've had a lot of people tell me, just don't post anything on your page other than real estate related content. So when I first started revamping my page, that's what I was doing. Posting decor, posting homes, all the showings,
stuff, all the market updates the world can handle.
Yeah. And so one day I ended up posting a video of me dancing. And it was a TikTok trend, and I was like, I might as well. And I had a family friend call my dad, and he's like, Jessica probably shouldn't be posting these things on her socials. Ooh. But let me tell you, as soon as I started posting the real authentic self, because I have a private page as well, and that's where I post my family and all my dance things. But on this page, I actually started to post, my content that shows who I am. That's when I started to connect with more and more people. And it just goes back to what the individual was saying. I think it was Matt yesterday who was speaking.
It was Matt Leonetti who said this. And he was saying that there was a lot of people who told him that you can't be successful and funny at the same time. You have to be professional, and people won't take you seriously. And honestly, it's so interesting because I consider myself to be smart for the most part. I can make dumb decisions, but like definitely I can consider myself smart. But when he was talking up there, I felt like the first time I had some sort of odd epiphany where I realized that, like, you know what? I've been kind of doing the same thing. I've really been holding back on all these other things that I've been told, whether consciously or unconsciously, that aren't appropriate for real estate. That's not appropriate for real estate. That's not, like, who's to say what's appropriate for real estate, especially with how fast everything's changing. As long as it's not harming somebody, and as long as it's informative or funny, why not bring that stuff to the table?
I think it humanizes realtors. Yeah. You know what I mean? And say, for example, you go meet your dentist. Like, your dentist is much more than just a dentist. Like, I shoot the shit with my dentist. We laugh. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, you're a professional, but you're much more than that. And that's what I love about what we do is you can just bring who you are. And at that point, you will start to attract those types of clients as well. Right. So, and really, I think humor, we can all enjoy. Like at the end of the day, we all love to laugh. So, and you're very funny and you should be posting more of those things as well. So
I think I will. You know, what's so interesting. He actually posted Matt posted his very first, like on stage, he had the bravery to like post the first ever video he ever took. And it's, you know, when you first try to record yourself and you're talking into the camera and you're talking very slow and
awkwardly,
and for some reason you're not yourself in the sense that like your voice is quieted down and you're kind of talking like this, and like it's almost like you've literally sucked the personality out of your body, and that's not who you are. That's literally what you're doing in front of the camera. And I know that a lot of people go through that. I know that there's a lot of videos for myself that I've like rewatched and I was like, why am I dead? Like, why? I literally look like I've died. Like it's not me at all. But what his advice was to just keep going. And that video itself, like if you see what he's doing now versus what that was, it's honestly just constantly failing forward. Yeah.
That's actually something I have to remind myself all the time.
I have a hard time with failure.
Yeah. And fall forward. And we all do. No one likes to fail. No one likes rejection. No one likes failing, because we were always praised when we did well, right? And it should be the opposite. We should be praised when we do a shitty job.
I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree with that one.
Well, okay, let me explain this. Okay. If you went out and tried something that you never did before. Okay? Yeah. And you did a really, really terrible job, but you did it and you learned what you should not do, then there's a lot to acknowledge there.
Okay.
And to congratulate someone on,
congratulate
right?
me. Just don't give me a participation trophy. That's all.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
I think that's not.
Oh my God,
you know what I'm saying, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we do and the more that we fail, the more that we learn, right? So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
For example, I was a guest on a podcast 2 weeks ago. My first ever in-person podcast. I was so nervous, and I rewatched the video when I was done.
How did you feel?
And I was horrified.
Oh no.
Sometimes I speak too fast because I get excited when I'm sharing something, and then I say the word like a million times. But I took that and I said, hey, I did something I've never done before. I'm not happy with it. This is not my best work, but let me just run with this and keep going. So now funny. I hope I didn't say like.
Now I'm hyper aware of that too. Thanks a lot. No, so the thing I think about you when I see you on podcasts is how good you sound. You have this like amazing podcast voice. It's wonderful. And I didn't notice any of those things. And that goes to show just how critical we are. Yeah, you know? And as you were saying that, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to play this back and I'm going to be like, oh no, I don't like this. I don't like that.
No, who is it? I think it's Gary Vee that says my shitty post is better than your non-post, right? So
fire.
I'm going to tell you as we move forward through this, we'll see. We're going to get better and better. And I like to be transparent. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've done this a million times. This is our first time doing this. And I'm sure as we move forward, it's going to get better and better.
So what else are we going to talk about on this podcast?
So we want to bring in some guests.
Yes,
I have some guests in mind. I know you do as well. I really think the goal is just to be super transparent about what we're going through. And here's the thing. I think when you jump onto someone's Instagram page, you see all the bright and shiny, the glitz and glam, everything's amazing. And there's a lot more to what we do and to what the world presents us with. So
this is an opportunity for transparency and being more yourself and actually having a voice and having these like being able to show your voice. Show your voice. My English is broken again.
Are you living in Romania right now? Okay, so we were talking about being realtors. What have you noticed is a personality trait that you think a realtor should possess?
Oh my God, a thick skin for no's.
Thick skin.
A rejection, and honestly, I've struggled with that. I've struggled with like criticism and rejection. Perceived. It's all perceived, right? So I've had to create a new belief system that changed the way that I perceived criticism and rejection, because it has affected me in the past, and it literally does create some of that like paralysis, or some of that really negative critical talk that happens after a rejection or a perceived rejection.
Yes.
I want to say that almost all rejections are perceived rejections.
Okay, tell us more. What do you mean by that? Do you have a scenario in mind?
I feel like we can pull a million scenarios from all these different success stories of these successful people all around us, where oh my gosh, anybody who's ever been told no and then kept going despite that. Like, I know this is such a silly example, but all I can think of is the KFC guy right now. Honestly, I was
hungry?
Like, and I don't even eat meat, but like, point is, he was much older, and he went door to door, and he tried to sell his recipe forever, and I don't know how many times he got rejected. I don't even know. Like, I have no idea. He was so elderly by the time he actually got a deal and got to sell his actual recipe. That if he had said, okay, my chicken sucks, my recipe sucks, this sucks, I'm done, I'm not gonna try to sell this anymore, I'm just gonna go and whatever, wither and die, right? So he didn't. And so that's one of the example. I know that you have probably a million real life examples, but that's what we all do.
But when we're on the spot, we can't think of them. What keeps you motivated then? I think we might have spoken about this before. Do you find that being part of a team is what helps you stay grounded and wanting to move forward, and to not get, upset when we hear no? Because we're in an industry where you hear no very often.
It's so funny that if that's like the thing you're most sensitive to, that's actually probably the best job for you, right? Like, actually, I really feel this is the best job for me because of that. The team inspires you a lot, and our team, we have a lot of communication daily. There's like 5 group chats. We're always keeping each other up to date with everything,
right,
with new listings coming up, and every time there's a win on the team, everybody on the team congratulates that person.
I love that.
And it doesn't matter if it's small or big, or there's always congratulations, there's always like kudos, and everybody pushes each other. I think that being a realtor gets real lonely if you're not surrounding yourself, or even with COVID or whatever, you're not in the office, you're not, like, it gets so lonely. And I get inspired and motivated by people around me and by inspiring others. So if I don't have enough people around me that can actually witness me, I'm not as inclined to want to succeed. I know that sounds crazy. And, you have all these people and all these different motivation gurus who are like, do it for yourself and da 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 da. Like, no, I do it for my family. I do it because I know that I make people happy and inspired, and it makes them want to be better. That's what, honestly, that's what gets me going. So yeah, was that the answer to the question? There's no answer.
I'm just wondering. Yeah, so you like being around people.
Yeah. The team is good.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? So what about your motivation? What motivates you?
Honestly, you said the exact same thing that I would say too. For me, I love working with other people. I could go far alone, but I think I can go further with people. So same thing. When I got into real estate, I started working with a team. I work for the Claimant Group at REMAX up in Thornhill. And for me, just being with someone who's that much more successful than I am and who is busy, that motivates me, because I also want to be just as busy. I have a problem where I can't not be busy. I find I become lazy when I'm not, right? So being around people that have really huge success stories is also super motivating to me, right?
That's what they say, right? Surround yourself with 5 people.
Yeah.
And make sure those people are what you want to become.
Yeah. So it's been great. I love being around people. I love being in the office. That for me was, and I'm so happy people come to the office. I feel like there's just a different energy when you're working from home and working with people around you.
I have 3 dogs, so it's a different energy when I'm working at home. It's like 3 yappy voices. If you're in like the middle of a very important call. Like no. Yeah, you need to be in the office for sure.
Yeah. So I'm definitely motivated by the people that I'm around, but also I think ultimately I'm motivated by what I want for myself long term. So that is what drives me.
What do you want for yourself long term?
I have a few things on my list, but we talk about, C-type goals, and that's a goal that, something I've never done. It scares me but excites me at the same time, but I have no clue how I'm going to get there. And for me, that thing is being a TED Talk presenter.
Ooh.
And that has been something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. When I moved to Switzerland, I'd watch TED Talks all the time. I was like, this is what I want to do. What am I going to talk about? I have no clue. But I don't know. I just picture myself there. And so
I love that.
All the things that I'm doing now, and that's one of the many things that I want for myself, but all the things that I'm doing now, I know are moving me closer and closer to that goal, right? So
I could see you on stage. I think in one of our podcasts, we should definitely talk about creating a life list.
What does that mean, a life list?
So we'll talk about it more on the next episode, but there is a certain person, and his name escapes me now, but he created something called a life list, and it's called a life list, so you can easily find it on Google. And it's an extraordinary list that he just documented going through. It's like a bucket list.
Okay.
I think it's extraordinary. You have to look it up, and we have to delve deeper into it, because I don't think a lot of us are making any type of bucket list or a goal list anymore. I think that once you make them, you start, like, life takes over, and then eventually you kind of lose your mission and your purpose, and you're doing all these different things. And how great would it be to just like have that life list up on your front door every time you leave your house? You're like, hey, I'm here. Remember what you're doing this for. Like, remember that everything you're doing that's a mundane work thing is leading up to these experiences.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I think there's so much power in writing these things out.
Thinking into results. Yeah. Tell me more.
No, but just even having it on a paper in front of you, when it's a reminder there every single day, you're going to have to do it. Right.
And it kind of bleeds into your subconscious, right? All these books that we read, everything from psychocybernetics to mastery to pretty much anything with Bob Proctor. Everything is about putting things in the automatic system, the reticular activating system, as people like to call it, as the technical term is, right? So it's like it becoming automatic, and it's crazy because you don't notice it, but if you have it with you or around you, your consciousness picks it up, and it starts planting that and planting that and planting that, and then before you know it, your literal physical body starts pulling itself towards that goal. It's amazing stuff.
And you can connect the dots looking backwards. Like, sometimes you do things and you don't know why they're happening or why you're doing them, and then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, because what I essentially wanted was this thing, and all these things are moving me closer and closer to what it is that I want. And the same thing with me. Like, when I started shooting content, I think it was in September, oh my God, I did not want to start it. I said, I don't want to listen to my voice. I hate listening to myself on video. And once I started doing that, so many things came out of that, not just content that I created, right? Yeah. Connecting with certain people. And I find as I do more and more of those things where I'm speaking, that's getting me closer and closer to what my goal is.
Which is going to be being on that TED Talk stage. I was watching a TED Talk last night on sleep and how important sleep is. And that, like, 50% of all comprehension just goes out the window under 6 hours of sleep. Like, 8 hours of sleep is supposed to be an ideal sleep cycle. Men actually end up with, sorry guys, smaller testicles if they get less sleep and less testosterone. And women actually, their reproductive system doesn't work as well with less sleep over time. They're at higher risk for cancer, at higher risk for, like, it is crazy what sleep does for us. I know that's that was a TED Talk. And so one day somebody's going to be talking about Jess's TED Talk. I'm like, oh my God, you should hear what I learned from this woman. I'm so excited to see that.
Yeah, thank you. So that's one of my goals. But it excites me. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you said it before, sometimes people don't even have a list of things that they wish to achieve. And I hope no one gets offended, but I think that's how we start to die inside a little bit when we don't have a goal, because I think we're all driven by goals, whether it's a long term or short term, right?
And that's not just like an individual type of thing. That reminded me of, I've seen a lot of relationships in my time. Elder millennial. Elder millennial. And
I texted Bianca this week and I was like, hey, are you a millennial? She's like,
and I was like, I barely make the cut. I'm an elder millennial. Come around the Snapchat, children. I actually got that from Eliza. There's a comedy show. It's actually called Elder Millennial on Netflix. It's hilarious.
Oh, okay.
That's where I got that from.
Okay.
I stole that. That wasn't. So in terms of relationships, that if you don't have a goal, the relationship that you're in starts crumbling. I've seen it so many times because you put this focus on this other person, and if you're not,
you mean not a goal in the relationship, you mean goals outside of your relationship with the individual.
So just saying that, like, even so if you're by yourself, you die a little bit inside and you stop pursuing certain things, and then when you're in a relationship, the same thing kind of happens. And so no matter what you're doing and what situation you're in, you're going to dismantle something in your life by not. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Getting deep.
Okay.
Interesting. All right, cool.
To wrap up our podcast, our first ever podcast. And it's not an April Fool's joke, guys. This is real stuff we're doing here. I guess my question would be, where or when do you feel most at home?
Ooh. Okay. Damn, you got me thinking now. I think for me, I feel most at home. So when I think of the word home, for example, a number of words come to mind. Home for me is warmth. Home for me is lots of people. Home for me is an open house. And I don't mean an open house like an open house when we're listing a home.
That too.
But I mean an open house in the sense that growing up, my home was always an open house. Wow, maybe this is why I love open houses so much. I made a post about open houses yesterday.
Yeah. See, we're discovering a lot of things about ourselves while doing this. This is great.
So our home was always open to everyone.
Yeah.
Family, friends, people that we just met. Like, that's just the way we were raised. So for me, when I think home, I think all of these things. Warmth, a lot of warmth. So I feel most at home when I'm around people. And I think this is why I struggled a little bit during COVID, because it was a complete shock. Yes, I was speaking to people, but I wasn't physically with them. And for me, there's so much power and energy in being with people in person.
I feel that.
So yeah, I feel most at home when I'm around people, meeting people for the first time, connecting with people, and having conversations that are below the surface. That for me feels like home.
Exactly how we connected.
Yeah.
Like the deepest possible conversation right off the bat.
How about yourself?
That was a wonderful way to answer that. When and where do I feel at home most? I think I realized during COVID that it didn't matter where I was, there I was.
Explain. My brain just went like this.
So there's this book, and it's oh my gosh, the book is called Wherever You Are, Wherever You Go, There You Are.
Okay.
So you have to explore these. People had a lot of time to explore the depths of their own personalities and their relationships inside their lives while they were forced to stay at home. So that you start realizing that if you can't stand, like, there was a lot of divorces that happened.
I know where you're going
there
with
was
this.
a lot. There was like divorces happened, and like people decided, like they're calling this the Great Resignation. There are people quitting their jobs. There are people changing their lives entirely, all because they were given time to go within. They were forced to go within. They were forced to realize that the things that they were doing were actually all automatic. It wasn't exactly what they wanted. And wow, we were never given can you imagine that we've never really been given a time where we sat with ourselves, and that all these gurus say, meditate, sit with yourself, etc., etc.
Yeah, we only do that for what, like 10 minutes?
Yeah,
15?
do that for 2 years and watch your life change. But also realize that wherever you go, there you are. So whatever problems you have, you'll always bring with you, unless you resolve those problems, right? So I don't think it's about going anywhere. I think it's about my home is in the discovery of understanding that I need to be at peace with myself. So wherever I'm at peace, I'll be home.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, ladies and gents. Well, Bianca finishes up this podcast with some deep stuff.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. This is what it's going to sound like from now on. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. So we look forward to having you with us well, for us it's 2 weeks, but we'll have the episodes coming regularly.
Yep.
And we'll be having a guest next week. So we look forward to having you, and thanks for joining us today.
I'll see you soon.